Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. Now I got a question for you. Have you ever had such a feeling of anticipated excitement only to have that feeling slowly dissipate in front of your eyes? Well. That was me while watching 2021's Mortal Kombat. And I know what you're gonna say, Kenny, that was 3 years ago, man. I understand, but that film still haunts me and I've thought about it ever since the new Chaos Reigns DLC dropped for MK1. Though it wasn't complete bottom of the barrel garbage, that label's reserved for another film we won't get into, it was much lower than my already low expectations. And before I really dig into this, I want to preface that if you enjoy this film, I am glad for you. You are stronger than I am. Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite video game franchises, so I wanted to walk away happy that MK has made a reappearance on the big screen. But that was not the case. I was hoping this film could at least top the bar that 1995's Mortal Kombat set, and sadly, it just didn't. But I digress. Let's take a deeper dive into what went wrong. We might as well address the elephant in the room, Cole Young. Whether you're a general watcher or a Mortal Kombat aficionado, here's where we have common ground. Because as soon as Cole Young is brought up, the general reaction is,
"Who the is that guy? Who the is that? You know damn well who I am. Who the is that?"
Cole Young is a tragic mistake. He's your relatable character serving as a lens into the world of Mortal Kombat for the uninitiated. But he's also completely unnecessary. Why create a whole new character when Liu Kang, in the 95 version, served this exact purpose? Or how about we utilize another already established character like Hollywood superstar Johnny Cage? At least he grows on you, while I can't say the same about Cole Young. And I just want to be clear. My criticism is against the character of Cole Young, not Louis Tan, the actor that portrays him. I'm confident Louis did the best he could with the role. The problem is in the character's writing. He just doesn't have much going for him. Sure, he fulfills the empathetic role of a down-on-his-luck, hard-working family man who once touched MMA gold, which is actually an interesting start. But that's essentially it. Well, that and being the link that brings Scorpion back into the film as Cole is his descendant, but that's a whole other thing. Besides that, I cannot tell you what makes Cole unique enough to justify his existence. I mean, the man was given literal plot armor during his greatest challenge against the four-armed dragon Prince Goro, who, bear in mind, has won numerous Mortal Kombat tournaments. Tournaments that test the greatest fighters from all the realms. The film pulls a deus ex machina and gives Cole Young, a declining MMA fighter by the way, a golden ticket to be a Mortal Kombat veteran. Now I could go on and on as to why Cole Young hurts this film, but we'd be here all day. So I suggest we move on to the other two problematic characters. Mileena is the Kitana Tarkatan hybrid clone and is shown as somewhat vicious, but not nearly animalistic enough. And she's missing the biggest part of her character, her tauntful, playful, and psychologically unhinged personality.
Mother wants us to live as sisters.
Further proof that she's lost her mind.
Come, let us be a family.
Without these aspects, her character comes off as another two-dimensional grunt. And speaking of which, we have Reiko, who is probably the most butchered character in this film. I mean, you can't tell me these two characters are the same. I get that changes have to be made, but those changes should be backed by the intent that they enhance the adaptation. Changing a character who's supposed to be a decorated general with the mindset of a tactician to a mindless brute is just an insane decision. It definitely feels like the writers wanted another goon and thought, let's just throw in another brand name character and call it a day. Luckily, the remaining cast of characters are alright for the most part. Notably, military officer Sonya Blade is portrayed well by Jessica McNamee. Kano, the ruthless mercenary, feels like he came straight out of the games, as played by Josh Lawson. And legendary rivals Scorpion and Sub-Zero were amazingly brought to life by Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim respectively. Now let's address another elephant in the room. Yes, there's many elephants in this room. I want to put it out there that the Arcana system is just downright stupid. Why are we making things more complicated than they have to be? If you didn't know, characters in the Mortal Kombat games either received their unique abilities through an ancient lineage upon birth or through the assistance of technology or magic. In the film, one must receive a special birthmark in the form of a dragon. which then grants that individual powers and access to the Mortal Kombat tournament. And if that person were to be killed, the birthmark would then pass onto the killer and grant them their own powers. I understand what the writers were going for, but it came across messy and way too integral to the plot. Rather than devoting so much time to the scenes of everyone awakening their Arcana, that time could have instead been invested into developing the characters and their relationships even further. Establishing everyone's Arcana could have literally been condensed into one scene. And while we're still on the topic, I find it hysterical that Jax's Arcana was so character specific that he needed his arms ripped off for his Arcana to rebuild bigger and stronger ones. Why did we need this? It was already established in the games that he used technology to rebuild his arms, rather than having to rely on an ancient magic to solve a problem easily fixed by human ingenuity. You want to fit a whole lot into a 2-hour movie, so let's not dwell on how everyone got their powers. In my opinion, just scrap the Arcana idea. Speaking of time, this movie has a pacing issue. I felt the characters spent way too much time in Raiden's temple, and after the midpoint, the movie ramped up and sped to the finish line. It was like it had a checklist and just wanted to be finished, checking to make sure it included this or that fight. It was kind of like Whiplash after we were stuck in the training arc for so long, then flash forward onto everyone taking their individual matchups until it all coalesced into the final showdown. And in these showdowns, we want to see some great action, right? Well, the choreography would be decent for an average film, but for a Mortal Kombat film, it was lacking. I don't know if I've been spoiled by films like John Wick, The Raid, or Ip Man, but I would expect the fight choreography to be top-notch on an IP based solely around fighting and martial arts. Don't get me wrong, the fight scenes get the job done, but there could have been so much more. Aside from the beginning and end fight scenes involving Scorpion and Sub-Zero, I found the other fights to be missing impact and a strong display of martial arts while being quite choppy in their editing. It almost seemed like these battles were appetizers, skipping past any semblance of a main course just to crescendo into dessert, that being the fatality. And if I'm watching any form of media focused so heavily on hand-to-hand combat, you better believe I want some meat to my fighting. For example, take a look at the fight between Jax and Reiko. We have a trained military soldier going toe-to-toe against a war general. Yet what we get is a sloppy and boring brawl filled with slow punches and a multitude of yells and grunts. Literally, the formula here was, let's have them throw a few punches, someone gets fatigued, and we end with a bloody fatality. Now, I may have picked one of the worst examples in the whole movie, but believe me, the rest are not far behind. I don't want it to seem like I completely despise every aspect of this film, just the vast majority of it, but I do want to credit where the movie gets things right, because there are a few good moments. Like I mentioned before, casting is pretty solid all around, but the choices for Scorpion and Sub-Zero are top notch. Hiroyuki Sanada brings such heat to the character of Scorpion, portraying him as a caring husband and father during his time as Hanzo Asashi, to becoming the vengeful wraith we know as Scorpion. And as for Sub-Zero, he was without a doubt the best part of this film, and I could think of no better actor than Joe Taslim to step into the role. His presence on screen was unmatched, and he just gave off such a cold demeanor, no pun intended. Additionally, I want to point out that even with the constrained budget, this movie pulls off some great special effects. It may not be top tier like some other blockbusters, but the VFX for Liu Kang's fire and Sub-Zero's ice look great. And lastly, let's give it up for the movie using its R rating. If you're going to make a Mortal Kombat movie, it better be rated R, and I'm glad WB got the message. 2021's Mortal Kombat is not a great film, nor is it a good movie. At best, I would say it's barely scraping mid-tier. The writing and characters desperately needed reworking before this film was ready for the big screen. The problems are glaring, and I wish that weren't the case. Mortal Kombat is such a ridiculous but fun franchise with a great selection of characters. It's just begging for a proper live-action adaptation. And I'm not looking for some Godfather level of filmmaking, just a competent story with solid character development and martial arts while respecting the source material. I don't think that's too much to ask for, though time will only tell if the filmmakers learned from the mistakes with the upcoming sequel. I don't know. Was it just me that felt this way, or do you also agree the film was lacking? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more of my rambling nonsense. As always, it's me, Kane T, and I'll catch you in the next one.